Good morning. Thanks for coming. Welcome to Green Acre Organics. I'm Gina Cavallero, and I'm one of the founders of the farm. My partner and the owner of Green Acre is Tanya Pennick, and she's at the market. She had to go to work today. I get to stay home and have fun with you guys. So not too good a deal for her. Well, we do aquaponics here, and it's something that is becoming really, really popular now. When we first started researching it, there wasn't a whole lot of information out there. In fact, there's a lot of information telling us that what we're doing couldn't be done. I know, it's surprising, right? But we kept going anyway. We found a couple places where they were teaching about aquaponics, and we went to Hawaii to learn how to build this system. And since doing that, we've actually changed it quite a bit. We found some different ways to do things a little bit better, and incorporated what we've called our hybrid design. Typically what you see with aquaponics are different types of systems, which are deep water culture, which is generally for commercial cultivation. And you also see a lot of media bed growing. Flood and drain has a lot of different names, and it's generally more for the backyard gardener. It's very popular in Australia. That's where it kind of got its start. And it's very popular with backyard gardens here. Well, there's a lot of advantages to having media bed growing, and we thought we were missing out by not doing it. One of the big problems we ran into right away was the fact that we had to remove all the solids from our system. And that to us didn't make a whole lot of sense. We were removing something that was a very valuable component. We know that that fish waste is actually what generates that fertilizer to grow our plants. And what we were doing was every week we were pulling it out of our system. So we thought we can kind of make this work a little bit better. If we can get those solids to go out to a media bed, we can put some red worms in there, and we'll get the benefit of these worms metabolizing that fish waste, and we won't have to remove it. And we do have this still in place, and I'm going to go through the whole system and tell you why. It's a really neat thing that we got going on here. We're really excited about what we're doing. But to give you a little bit of background first, we were in the construction industry for a long time. And as everybody knows, if you were doing residential housing a couple years ago, you stopped doing residential housing a couple years ago because it just stopped. We tried to do commercial, we did some multifamily, everything kind of came to a halt. So we tried to figure out something different to do. We like to run businesses and be entrepreneurs, and we stumbled upon aquaponics. And we figured out if we can figure out a way to grow fish and vegetables and make a living off of it, that's what we wanted to do. We also found out about the same time about eating clean and eating organic. We had started gravitating that way. We were going to Tampa, I don't know, once every couple weeks, spending about $300 to $500 at Whole Foods or a whole paycheck. And then the race was on to eat it. I mean, it's crazy. I just went there yesterday. I kid you not, I walked out with one bag and it was $122. It was insane. But it's the only place to get organic meats and cheeses and milks and things of that nature. We get all our own veggies now, but we still have to go there once in a while. But we thought it's kind of messed up that you have to be wealthy to eat healthy. And that's something that is part of our mission. We want to make clean, chemical-free, organic food available to more people. And we're working to do that in our community. We're not organic certified. When we started our business, we intended to get certified. That's why we chose our name, Green Acre Organics. But what we found out, the more we did this, and the more we developed a relationship with our customers, our community, is that they didn't want us to get it. They know us. We like to talk about know your farmer and know your food. They have more reliance and faith in the fact that they know we're growing it, or perhaps we're working with other area farmers that grow chem-free, and they have that trust that we're going to get them clean, organic food. So we asked them if they wanted us to get organic certified. We said if we did, you're going to pay for it. We just have to pass that expense on to you. They all said no. Well, I'd say most of them, 98% said no, we don't want you to. So we're doing what we're doing without certification, and we know that what we're growing is better than organic. And a lot of people say, well, how is that possible? Organic food actually has an allowable amount of chemicals in it, considerably less than anything conventional. You eat conventional celery, you're taking the chance of ingesting 67 different chemicals. That's insane. You know, it's the company or the organization of the government, the USDA, that certifies food as organic, the same organization that tells us it's okay to eat the pesticides that they apply on it. Just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If I look at pictures of industrial agriculture and they're applying pesticides and chemical fertilizers, they're wearing chem suits and respirators to do it. But yet I can eat that food and it's supposed to be okay for me. I just don't buy that. So we think it's really important that we eat clean and we eat organic. Makes a difference. So by doing this, we kind of find that we found a sweet spot for our produce. We don't charge as much as organic certified. We don't have to. We don't have that overhead. But we can charge a little bit more than what you pay for conventional. So it's kind of right in the middle. It works for us and it works for our customers. So we got into aquaponics and we had to figure out how to make this work. We started out with a real small system. It's actually broke down right now. It's down there in the south part of the farm. And the reason it's broke down is we're going to make it a miniature replica of this system. It was just what's called DWC, or deep water culture. The problem we found, as I mentioned before, is that solids have to be removed. Well, in the small system, the type that we were taught to build actually didn't have a feature to remove the solids. It actually stays in the system. Well, we soon found that if you run these systems for a long period of time and that waste stays in there, it causes a problem. What happens is that waste does mineralize for a period of time, and then afterwards it starts to break down and become anaerobic. If you have an anaerobic condition in an aquaponic system, it's a problem. It gives off ammonia and it steals oxygen. Two things you don't want to happen. Your fish are taking care of the ammonia production for you, and they're the ones that are really needing the oxygen as well as your plants. So you don't want anything compromising those two things in an aquaponic system. So, if we look at our system, everything here works by gravity flow. You can see it real easily here. I have some nursery tanks that are behind me. They're just 150-gallon stock tanks from Tractor Supply. Anything, if it'll hold water and it's food safe, it's a fish tank. Could be an old refrigerator with the seams caulked, or an old bathtub. There's a lot of things you can do to be creative and use some recycled materials to make a system. So we have our 450-gallon nursery tanks. They're in a chain and they all gravity flow, and they flow down to our main rearing tank. It's a 1,000-gallon fish tank and it houses about 280 pounds of tilapia. They are hiding right now because there's a bunch of predators standing around and they know that we're going to eat them. So they're all on the bottom far side of the tank. If I threw some food in there, they might be brave enough to come up. For the most part, they scatter when we have tourists. We have our 1,000-gallon fish tank, and we also supply aeration to our fish tank. We have it all the way around the tank, and it kind of serves a couple purposes. It's not just to provide oxygen for the fish, but it also creates pretty nice turbulence and keeps our solids all nice and churned up and suspended. So those larger fish solids are actually getting broken down just by the agitation in the tank, along with the fish swimming and moving around, and it helps them to flow out to our media bed. So we used to have just this feature here. That media bed, if you can imagine that bed on top not being there about 2.5 months ago. So what used to happen is all the solids and water used to flow out to this solid settling tank. This just has a series of baffles in it. Basically, it disrupts the water flow. It helps that water to hit those baffles. It makes the solids gravitate to the bottom. And the water flow just kind of goes underneath the first baffle, over the middle one, underneath the last one. And basically, it helps everything just to go to the bottom. As it flows out of this, it goes into what's called a net tank. It's a clarifier tank. We actually just put this back online. We realized that there is a chance that we might have too many fish, or we might be feeding a lot of food, and it could possibly overwhelm our media bed. Well, no problem. All we do is open a gate valve here, we let a little of those solids go here, and we can manage which is going into our media bed. We never have to worry with that media bed getting overwhelmed and getting conditions that might become anaerobic. So after we go from this solid settling tank, we go to our net tank or a clarifier, and then the last stop is to a degas tank. And that's just a tank where we have some big air stones in there. We're pumping in a lot of oxygen. We're burning off anything that's coming out of this fish waste that's breaking down, essentially methane. We do that before it goes out to the plants. We have plants growing in it. The water flows underground from here, from the fish tank area, and flows into the first trough. From there it flows to the far end, goes underground, comes into the next one, comes up here, and it just kind of creates this nice little S pattern as it goes through the system. Also, up until about a month ago, that was the end of the system at the far fifth trough. That is the lowest point in this system inside. From that lowest point is where we have a pump that returns our water to our highest point, right over here on my left. That pump is about 118 watts. That's all it takes to move water throughout the system. We're moving 10,000 gallons here, because gravity's doing the rest of it for us. Now that we've changed things a bit, we have a media bed. So we have about 200 square feet of media bed. Media beds boast a lot of things that deep water culture cannot do. Deep water culture can grow woody plants like eggplant, peppers, tomatoes, this system will grow it better. It's easier for those plants of that size and that nature to have a better root mass to hold on to. And it also is better because they're stationary in that system. One of the great things about a graft type system, especially for commercial applications, is that everything moves. When we harvest, we take things from this end. When we plant them at that far end. And the system just constantly has this fluid motion where it starts down there and it comes down here. So if I have some tomatoes and cucumbers and other things in this part of my system that have to be trellised, I just took away that function of being able to move my grafts and have that nice mobility. So now we have anything that has to be trellised and anything that's a long-term plant over in the media bed. There's all heirloom tomatoes, heirloom eggplants, about 5 different varieties of peppers, cucumbers, yellow squash, zucchini, and radishes. We don't know yet how much more we can pack in there, but we're going to try. Basically, we're going to utilize as much of that space as possible. We know that because it's an aquaponic system, there's an abundant amount of nutrients. We're not going to have the same issues when we're growing in the ground. If you're in the soil, we have nutrient depletion. With aquaponics, we don't have to worry about that. Our media bed functions because they're siphoned. Siphons act by water filling up, and once they're kicked in, they dump all the water below to the sump, and then they fill back up again. So this constantly does this all day long. Each of these 5 beds cycle anywhere from 2 to 3 times an hour. Dumping the water below, the sump now flows out to our grow troughs. We have constant flow going throughout our system. So we always have nutrients being delivered to all our plants all the time. Now that we've just incorporated our system outside, another 1,024 square feet, we are now connected from this system to that system. So basically we just have pipes going underground and it's just flowing downhill here. It's more sustainable. We don't have to worry about power outages. If they worry about power outages, we got about maybe an hour when the power's down to get a generator on and ensure that our fish stay alive. Going to solar will be a nice way to not have to worry about our neighbors calling us when the power's out and rushing home to make sure we can get a generator hooked up quick enough. Now that we've added on with our media bed, 1,000 square feet outside, we have the capacity for about 13,000 plants in our whole system. And we're doing that off 280 pounds of fish. Current models for most aquaponic systems as far as fish density tell us we need to have about 5 times the amount of fish. But what we also know is that most of those theories are based on growing fish and selling them for a product. We don't sell our fish. We just sell our vegetables and our produce. So we want to grow as least fish as we need. Why pay for them if we're not going to sell them? These are just the cost of doing business to us. Cost to feed them, cost to heat them in the winter, and the cost to give them oxygen. Other than that, they might be dinner once in a while for us. We also have a nursery area outside. We start all our own seedlings. It has capacity for nearly 18,000 seedlings out in that nursery. And we start now about 4,000 seedlings a week. We also have an NFT system we've recently implemented on the south wall. NFT, nutrient film technology. It's very common in higher lakes. Earth in the NFT, larger earth can stay in a trough. Lettuces and leafy greens in our trough. Anything that needs any kind of trellising or anything that's critters, raccoons that want to come and visit our system in the middle of the night. But as far as the bugs, when we had it screened, the bugs had a blast. Because what we found is that the little guys could get in here, the ones that would eat them couldn't. We had to take our screening down, and actually it's been much better for our integrated pest management and how we manage our pest issues.
You can cooler too.
What's that? Absolutely. You've been here before, and I think it was probably in the summer, and it's insane hot in here. And we weren't getting a whole lot of airflow through that. It was basically like a window screen that you'd have in a house. Not as much airflow as we do get now.
When you turn your water on your pipes, how fast is it such a big diameter and your plants are way up above the water? How does the water and plants communicate?
I can't tell you. That's top secret. So we've actually implemented something that we can regulate that. But that's something that we actually teach in our training. Probably a lot of you know that we have a commercial course coming up at the end of this month. We've got Sylvia Bernstein from the Aquaponics Source. She also runs the aquaponic gardening community. Murray Holland from Practical Aquaponics. He does the DIY aquaponic videos or DVDs.